Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Myth Busting. Today is another episode of Mini Myths, which lately has become my absolute favourite myth busting to record. It is really nice to have some specific questions to investigate that often have the potential to improve our survival gameplay, and that is of course if we learn something different from our assumptions. And today is no different. We have 5 interesting questions that I am excited to find out the answers to. But first, as always, if you have a question of your own, don't be afraid to go down to the description box and ask. But back to the myths. Our first one today is to do with killing slimes. You wanted to know if the looting enchantment would affect the amount of slimes a larger one would split up into. The idea being that with a looting sword you would get more slimes overall. So to test this, I have set up a simple testing facility where a field clock will search for slimes of a specific size and teleport them to a specific location. This means we can spawn 100 large slimes in one place, and as we kill them with a looting sword, the slimes will split up and be separated automatically by that teleporting. So we can count them later on and find out how many they split up into. We will do 4 tests in total for this one. Obviously, they'll be with and without a looting sword, but we are also going to test this on both the large slimes and the medium slimes as well, which are the two that can be split up into smaller types. The testing is over, the results are in, and I gotta say that was a lot of fun to do. And as you can see, we have actually done an additional test over here as well. So not only have we done looting and non-looting, we've also tested a wooden sword as well. The reason why is because there has been this rumour in the game for the longest time that is absolutely ridiculous, that if you kill slimes with a wooden sword you would get more slime balls. So I thought that's something else we can test as well. We can find out if looting affects the amount of slime balls and if a wooden sword will affect that as well. So I thought it would be a good idea to do it for this test as well. So with the big slimes splitting into medium slimes, we got 295 medium ones. This was with a sample size of 100 big ones starting over there. So that would suggest that the average amount they split up into would be 3, and the rest of the results will suggest this as well. So from medium to small we got 299, and then over here you can see with a non-looting sword 301 and 303, pretty much no difference on average, and same for the wooden sword as well, 300 and 303. So what we're going to do next is a similar test, except we're going to be killing the small slimes and seeing how many slime balls we get from them. So we're going to do that with the looting sword, the non-looting sword and the wooden sword as well, so we can finally kill that myth. Another test down, that one did not take as long, and this time I decided to do it with a sample size of 200 small slimes. So with the looting free sword we got 478 slime balls, that is an average of 2.4. With the regular sword we got 194, that's an average of 1, and with the wooden sword we got 196, also an average of 1, and I think that proves that that myth is a load of nonsense. So you know what to do. If anyone ever tells you it's true, just send them over to this video and they can see it for themselves. But if it wasn't clear from the first test, I just want to reiterate that it didn't matter if the slime was big or small, the average amount of slimes they will split into is 3. And I think that is enough of our slime testing for today. It's time to move on to another myth. Our next question for this episode is to do with bows. You wanted to know if the strength potion would affect the amount of damage that it does. I thought this was a pretty cool question, but it led me to think a little bit more about what else could possibly affect the bow. So as well as strength, we're going to test its counterpart weakness to see if it reduces damage. We're also going to test swiftness, slowness and haste as well to see if that affects the draw speed. So I'm going to do a bunch of testing and I'm going to show you and talk about the results. So first of all, I tested the draw speed of the bow with and without the haste effect, and thanks to the magic of video editing we can align the footage and you can see the bow speed is completely unaffected. For this next test I invited my dear friend Meri onto the server, and together we tested strength and weakness potions to see if they affected damage. In this test we learned that bows deal seemingly random amounts of damage, so to make sure the testing was accurate I tried strength at level 100 and weakness at level 100 too, and there was no noticeable difference to the damage of the bow, which appeared to be between 3 and 5 hearts of damage. So last of all I tested the speed and slowness effects at level 5, and once again the video editing can show you the draw speed is unaffected, and it may look a little odd because the potion affects the field of view. So we answered some questions and unfortunately didn't learn anything that may give our survival gameplay an advantage, and I'm expecting the same kind of results with this next test, which could be interesting if it turned out to have a difference. But you wanted to know if there was any difference between travelling up and down on vines or on ladders, and as I said, probably not going to get a result from this, but if it turned out that vines were faster then that would be a little bit of a game changer, so it's worth doing a comparison so we can find out. So that may have been a very short test, however it was done correctly. I used the teleport command to align the players facing forward so that they didn't go off to the side and possibly affect the test, something like that. And the same thing when coming down as well, which was a little bit tricky because you need to walk straight onto the ladder or the vine, and the ladder has a collision box and the vine doesn't, but we used video editing to align them up perfectly, and you could see there was no difference at all to the speed, which was exactly what I expected. A little disappointing that we didn't discover something interesting there, but there you go. On to the next myth. You wanted to know if looting on shears would affect the amount of wool that you'd get on a sheep. So I've got one of them over here. I'm going to clone this guy 100 times and then shear all of the different sheep inside the pen, and then we'll be able to find out if it makes any difference. This one certainly had potential. There could have been something hidden that we didn't know about, but unfortunately the fortune and looting didn't have any effect. Let's have a look at the results. Over here on the sword, you get 1 wool every single time you kill them. Obviously looting is the one that affects the sword. However, I did fortune as well because we did it on the shears. So no difference over there. And on this side you can see you get around an average of 2 wool when you use the shears. So with no enchantment we got 207, with looting 204, and fortune we got 202, which is a clear indicator that the looting and the fortune don't have an effect on the shears, which is unfortunate. That would have been nice, but it's not in the game. And our last myth of the day is to do with the Depth Strider enchantment. You wanted to know if they would work on mobs, which is something that I want to know as well. It's a new enchantment. It's quite likely that they wouldn't have thought about that when they added it. But what we're going to do is simply put a villager somewhere and then have a stream of water on either side. We'll put a zombie at either end. One of them will have Depth Strider, one of them won't. So I'm going to set that up and we're going to test it together. This should be a very straightforward test. We have our villager in the middle. We got some Depth Strider boots over on that side. We're going to spawn a zombie who can pick up items there, and another one on the opposite side. So let's press the button and summon them in. You can see this guy's got the Depth Strider boots, and look at that. That's absolutely amazing. I was not expecting it, but it does actually affect the mobs. As you saw, he whizzed through the water there a lot faster than we can probably travel, and that is absolutely awesome. And that is going to be it for this episode of Minecraft Myth Busting. As always, if you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like. It will always be appreciated. And if you want to suggest any myths of your own, then leave one down in the comment box down below. I, of course, read them, and I'll take a look at that. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.